Fresh from the showcase at SwissWatchExpo, we have a comparison for the ages, the Patek Philippe Nautilus versus the Patek Philippe Aquanaut, the hipper younger brother. We'll see which one comes out on top. Here at SwissWatchExpo, we get a lot of attention for the Patek Philippe Nautilus and the Aquanaut, and for good reason. These are some of the best known, most treasured watches in the entire world. The Nautilus, I'm sure you know the story, was designed by Gerald Genta. It really was a refinement of his Audemars Piguet Royal Oak design, and it really is an interesting evolution of the Royal Oak when you look at it, because it does have a similar brushed bezel, but it's a good bit more refined. It's more of a dressy sport watch, where the Royal Oak is a little bit more on the sporty side of the dressy sport watch segment. But on the Nautilus, you saw the porthole design really sort of come to fruition. It has the wings on the side, which are really its most iconic design element. But the bezel itself is just gorgeous. It is not really an octagonal shape like the Royal Oak. It is sort of an octagonal-ish shape. It has a gentle curve, and unlike the Royal Oak, which has a round center to the bezel, this one, it actually follows the track of the bezel. So we have the same shape inside and outside the bezel. It is just gorgeous the way the finishing is done. You see the amount of handwork that Patek Philippe puts into every one of these watches is really apparent. It's on full display with these, because you have the high polish on the edges of the bezel, the satin on the top. When you look at the way the case is put together, it's just a really refined watch. It's a lot more sort of attention to fine detail in its design than what you see on the Royal Oak. And the probably highest demand Nautilus that we have is the 5711, which we have represented here on the alligator strap with the gray dial. These dials are just an art to behold. When you look at them, they have multiple colors. They have these horizontal lines that pick up the light in different ways depending on how it's hitting it at the time. Whether you go with the gray, the blue, the white, the dials are beautiful. The hands on the Nautilus are a bit thin, and the markers are thin. So that's where I'm talking about that it does come down a little more on the side of the dress watch, of the dressy sporty watch segment that we're looking at. It does have some crown guards, the wings, that we do see the porthole design, but even on the leather strap version, there's a lot of attention to detail in the clasps, the case backs, the exhibition case back that we see on the movement. The movement has the Geneva seal on this one. The later models, of course, have the Patek Philippe seal. But the movements have the level of decoration you've come to expect from Patek Philippe. Every screw head is polished and beveled. Every plate, every bit of the movement is correctly beveled. It has the Cote de Genève all over it. And the watch itself, overall, is pretty thin. It's a lot thinner than a Royal Oak, and it sits very nicely on the wrist, especially this leather strap version, because the strap can come sort of straight down from the watch, so it can fit on a smaller wrist. Because it's not real thick, it really is kind of the everyman watch. I know not every man has the money in the pocket to come out for this watch, but if everyone could afford one, they certainly could wear it on their wrist. This particular one we have is the 5712. The 5711 is just the time and the date. The 5712 we have here is one of my favorites among the Nautilus line, because it does have the Moonphase and the dates in this subdial, and then it has the sub-seconds hand. Of course, all of it's loomed, but it's very subtle in its loom compared to the hipper younger brother of the Aquanaut. Now, the Nautilus came out in 1976. The Aquanaut came out in 1997 as sort of a little bit leaning more towards the sport side of this sporty, dressy conglomeration we've got here. And if you look at the differences in the dials, you can see that the Aquanaut dial is a lot more bold. The sort of global lines that are on the dial are a lot bigger than the dial lines on the Nautilus. And so it just gives a much more bold look, but it has the same sort of variety of color when the light hits it. It starts out at in the center, sort of a bronzy, goldy, steel looking color, and then it ends up more gray towards the edges. It's a fascinating change of color across the dial. But you can see that the hands are a lot thicker. The second hand is much brighter and bolder in the way it's designed. It has much thicker hour indices, and then it has these big, bold Arabic numerals. And of course, everything is fully loomed. Missing are the wings on the sides of the Nautilus. So it's really the most prominent design difference between the two, but it really isn't what makes the big difference between the two watches, because when you look at them, the Aquanaut definitely looks more towards the sporty side. It's just a hair thicker, and a lot of the Nautiluses that we sell do come on the steel bracelet. A lot of what the fascination with the Nautilus is on the hand finishing of every single link. And a lot of the Aquanauts that we sell are on the rubber strap, which puts them even more towards that sport side. And the rubber strap is really, really durable from Patek Philippe. It has a great clasp on it as well. But I wanted to show you the difference in the bracelets. That this is the Aquanaut bracelet, very finely finished as well, just like the Nautilus bracelet, just a different design that's a little bit more sporty, a little less towards the elegant side. I think that it is really a sort of a trick of the eye that we were just talking about, that on the Aquanaut, the bezel looks bigger than on the Nautilus, but I think it's just because the Nautilus has more outside the bezel on the case. Now, these watches are both nominally 40 millimeter by 40 millimeter, but the Aquanaut does look bigger, and I think a lot of that is because of the way the wings are on the Nautilus. The eye sort of focuses more on the dial center and on the bezel, and on the Aquanaut it just looks bigger overall. Part of that is probably because of the boldness of the Arabic numbers and the hour indices. On the Aquanaut, of course, you've got the same type of double deployant buckle, the same exhibition case back. In fact, it's the same exact movement as the 5711 Nautilus. So when it comes down to a comparison, when you look at these two watches, they are so different that my actual recommendation is that you would buy both of them, because I think you probably need both to have one a little bit more dressy, one a little bit more sporty, and that way you'll have a great investment on your hands as well if you had both of them. So give us a call, check our website. You can type in the word Aquanaut or the word Nautilus on the search and see everything that we have in stock. But give us a call. We're happy to do a FaceTime or Zoom video call. We can show you specific watches, our store and our service center, and we'll be happy to help you narrow it down and get your order placed.